Hey, welcome, my friends, to this week's phenomenal episode of Motivational Moments with Maria. I'm your high performance coach, Crazy Coach Maria, and I'm so thrilled to be with you today. We've got a treat today, and you're going to love it. And I'm always grateful that you are joining in because I believe that every day we need to grow, we need to get better, and we need someone to support us. And if I can inspire one of you just to be better, do a little better, then I am one happy wisdom warrior. So I am really, really passionate about the personal development and personal growth journey, right? You know that. And so keep those comments and suggestions coming in. I am listening and I will get to it. Now, I mentioned today, I am super excited. I'm going to bring another really cool guest to the show today. But I'm going to do what I typically do, and that's always ask you a question because it's relevant to today's topic. Now, have you ever read your horoscope? And do you believe in astrology and the position of the planets and the impact that the position of the planets may have on our lives? Now, wait. You're probably wondering, wait a minute here. Wait a minute, coach. I don't understand this. What does astrology have to do with personal growth? Well, just about everything. Just about everything. And how is astrology defined? It's defined as the belief that an astronomical phenomena like the stars, when you were, how they were positioned when you were born, or the fact that Mercury is in retrograde. All of those have the power to influence the daily events in our lives and our personality traits. Now, I just have to tell you, I am no expert on the subject, so I have invited astrologer Bethany Sharifi to speak to us on the sometimes controversial subject. Now, Bethany has been studying astrology for over 15 years, and this is her lifelong labor of love. She's based out of Portland, Oregon, and considers astrology a tool of empowerment. Bethany, welcome to Motivational Moments with Maria. I am so thrilled and I'm so honored that you could join me today.
Thank you.
Now, Bethany, half of our population, and you know there are 7 billion people on the planet, half of our population believes that astrology is very scientific, where the other half thinks that astrology is, a little out there, a little woo-woo. Now, as an astrologer, how would you respond to that?
Well, I would argue that really the fact that we are all alive on this planet in the middle of some sort of infinite fabric of space-time is in and of itself very woo-woo. So I also feel like people really use a lot of either or thinking, and it's either that it's backed by science or it's extremely woo-woo. But the reality is that there is a gray area there. And the way that we live in our lives day to day is a combination of a little bit of superstition and a little bit of woo-woo and the unexplainable, as well as the more tangible and the more rational and the more logical. So it's really just a meeting of in the middle of those two types of thought forms.
Okay. And isn't astrology based on scientific calculations of the constellations and planetary movements?
It is.
Okay.
The core of astrology is in astronomy. And if we, go back far enough in human history, we see that at one point, astronomy and astrology were the same discipline. And it was only in later times that those two were seen as separate entities from each other. But it is very much backed in scientific astronomical thought. We calculate and view and observe and note the movement of the planets just as any astronomer would.
Okay. As any astronomer, and people are very much into astronomy, correct?
Yes.
And I think you mentioned, like, wait a minute, don't the currents of the ocean and the tides of the ocean respond to the movement of the moon?
Exactly. And I say this to skeptical people all the time, which is that we know and we have proven the way that these cycles of the moon greatly affect the tides of the ocean, as well as other natural phenomenon on Earth. So it stands to reason that something that is so powerful that it can control the massive deep ocean. And with our human bodies being 80% water, well, what could it do for us?
I don't know, but I'm sure you're going to.
I'm going to tell you.
I know you're going to tell. So, what can an individual learn from an astrology reading?
It's not too different from your transformational coaching. Having been a coaching client of yours for a few years now, your coaching style has been this continuous unfolding process of myself, of gifts that I didn't know that I had, of understanding on a deeper level certain challenges, lessons, and cycles of life that I've experienced. And astrology is very much the same thing. I think that a lot of us go through life adhering to versions of ourselves that we are trained to be and told to be by other people in authority, our families, our employers, teachers at school. And we never really get the space, permission, or chance to search within and figure out, who am I independent of what other people expect of me? Who am I independent of other people's perceptions from me? And so your birth chart, when you're looking at your chart, it really is a chance to discover all of these different facets of your being and these kind of untold stories that exist in your life and in your development, and harness those energies.
Okay, so you can figure that out by a reading? I mean, honestly?
We can. And I tell you what, it is, a lot of people are very skeptical on astrology because they've only heard of sun signs. They've only read, in the back of a Cosmopolitan, Pisces, don't answer that business call today. But the reality and the detail that is present in your natal chart, for some people, they are shocked and surprised, and it can take a while for them to integrate that information because it can cause a little bit of cognitive dissonance and a little bit of surprise to see how that data is able to present these deep truths of our soul in such a factual manner. It can be quite surprising.
Just by how the planets were aligned when you were born.
And the thing is, and I always tell people, there's not a human on earth that can tell you for sure with 100% certainty why you were born, what you're doing here, and where you go when you leave. So just the fact that we wake up every day on this planet and that our consciousness is tied to this physical form is in and of itself a miracle and a little bit magical. So I invite other people to put a pause on the skepticism and see what would happen if you opened yourself up to perhaps another possibility that there are forces greater than you at work in this planet. And it can be a little bit of a fun thing to see.
Okay, great. Well, you know what? Why don't we have some fun today? Why don't we have some fun today? Let me be your guinea pig, if you will. I'm gonna I'm gonna be the sample, and I'm going to. Now, this is really gonna expose myself now, isn't it? I'm
Yes.
gonna expose myself. So I gave you my birth date, my time of birth, all that, the location,
Mhm.
and now you're going to tell me a little bit about myself. And if I get a little nervous, it's okay. But this is what growth is about, right?
Yes.
Self, be completely vulnerable and open. And God, I'm doing it on the airwaves today. And let's go. So I'll be Bethany is going to give me a reading. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a little scared.
So this right here, Maria, is your chart. Now, this may look like a bunch of weird symbols and gobbledygook, but I'm just going to first kind of take you through what we're looking at here, and then we'll get into the fun stuff and do a little bit of a reading. And first, I just want to confirm December 21st, 1955, 10:43 p.m. in San Francisco.
Yes, I am a San Francisco native. And yes, I am
We've got flowers
just
in our
my
hair and
age.
we're ready to go. So this outer wheel, as you see here, and most people are familiar with the concept that our celestial sky is broken up into a pie of 12 pieces based on the constellations: Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Leo. So most of us are familiar with this language because we've heard it. We've read our sun signs in the paper and in magazines and what have you. This deeper level comes when we calculate your specific time of birth with the city of birth, because what that sets up for us are what are known as the houses. And those are, again, 12 pieces of the pie that are cut up in equal parts, as you see here. And what the houses do is they show us they really show us kind of on a deeper level, not as much how our personality expresses and what kind of our, communication style is and what our relationship style may be, but they can also show us timing for different phases of development of our life. Basically, what you're looking at here is the wheel of life. We're born in the first house, and then when we go around the wheel to the 12th house, that represents a dissolving back, into this fabric of space-time. So it's a complete snapshot of a soul's journey in a human body on Earth, which is quite fascinating.
It is quite fascinating. So what are you going to tell me about me?
Well, one of my favorite things about your chart, especially as somebody that has known you for a few years and then was able to look at your chart, some things that just make sense. I have to first go to your beautiful, sensitive Pisces moon, because one thing that I have always loved about you and that has always, I think, resonated not only with me, but with many of your coaching clients is that you have this deep capacity for true compassion, true empathy. And at the core of your role as teacher and guide, there is this just this great emotional understanding, as well as the fact that you have this beautiful capacity to really hold emotional space for other people and then guide them through whatever that looks like, whatever those emotional waters, how they're moving. It's also of note that, so we see here's your moon in Pisces, and we see it's in this chunk of the chart that has this 7 here. So that would be the 7th house. The 7th house is concerned with relationships with other people, not just romantic relationships, but anytime we are in communication, contact, connection, relating to other humans, that is indicated by our 7th house. So your moon being in the 7th house, our moon indicates how we are nurtured, what brings us emotional fulfillment, what really helps us feel nourished on a deep soul level. And for you, it's that emotional connection that you share with other people. It's the chance to connect with other people, not just on a superficial how's the weather way, not just in a cold cut, how many homes did you sell today way, but really getting to know people and understanding them on just the deepest, most emotional level, which is a gift. And definitely a type of moon sign that we need more of in this world, more emotional intelligence.
Oh, I'm touched. I'm saying, wow, okay.
So then we'll go opposite of this. So when we pop over here to this side of the chart and we see this AS, what does that mean? Well, this is your ascendant. And so for anybody out there who has knowledge of their sun sign but goes, that doesn't sound like me at all, I urge you to find out what your ascendant is and see if that makes a little bit more sense to you. Our ascendant is basically the role that we are here on Earth to play. It's how people immediately perceive us. So our moon is deeply personal, and our moon sign may not be apparent in our relationships to other people until we've kind of gotten to know them and we kind of let them in our inner circle, so to speak. But when we are just out in the world, we're at the grocery store, we're at the office, we're picking up our kids from school, we are embodying our rising sign during that time. Your rising sign is an earth sign. It is Virgo. Virgo is the archetype of the healer, the helper. It is seen as kind of like this, this deeply feminine kind of mothering type energy that wants to be of service in the world, wants to help. And with Virgo, there is no ulterior motive. It's truly service for the love of making the world a better place than it is already. and improving. So when we combine these two archetypes with you, we see, well, here's somebody that uses their deep sensitivity, their emotional intelligence, their empathy, and their compassion, and takes that and uses it as a way to improve the lives of others, and wants to be in a role of teacher for others, and wants to act as a support for other people to succeed, to grow, and most importantly, to heal. So I definitely feel that there just could not be a more accurate description of you, of the life's work that you've chosen to take on in this world. And based on conversations that I've had with other people, I know that you are perceived this way, without a doubt, 100%. You are seen as a guide, you are seen as a helper, you are seen as our teacher, and you're very much seen as in the service, here to be of service to the world and to other people.
So that's pretty amazing.
It is.
That is pretty amazing. And that I'm sitting here in this capacity as a coach, as a motivator, as a teacher, as a great, wonderful grandmother and mother. And I'm sitting here going, wow, you were just able to find that out by looking at the time that I was born and where I was born and how the stars align. Now, let me ask you this question. What do I need to be aware of? Is there anything crazy that's going to go on in my life in the next few years that I need to be aware of?
So basically, I offer a few different types of chart readings. So this is what we would call your basic birth chart reading, which is where we look specifically at your data based specifically on your birthday. When we start getting deeper into astrology, that's when we can bring in what is known as transits, which I'm going to toggle here, and I'm going to add a nice little transits right here. And so what this represents, let me just make sure that I have the right settings. So what this represents, the inner circle is your birth chart. And if I always tell people to think of it as basically like a cosmic clock. And the world didn't stop when you were born. The planets have continued to move in their orbits. So when we factor in transit,
I thought when I was born, they broke the mold and that was it.
they may have broken the mold, but those planets are still in motion. So that's what we're looking at when we look at the transits. We're looking at where the planets are now.
Okay.
And so what happens are these kinds of activations. And if we've ever noticed, like, what happened, maybe 5 years ago, you went through this phase where you were having a lot of difficulty in relationships, or there were some financial difficulties, or maybe you went through this burst where you were feeling very creative and you just decided to change the whole trajectory of your life. Transits can help shed light on that. And so the reasons we would look at transits is, one, just to be aware of what's coming down the pike for us and just to kind of get a little bit more clarity on where we're at in our life journey. Two, it's very useful to look at where we've been, so that, we can begin the process of understanding, processing, and integrating some of the more, intense life experiences that we have, and try to, glean some lessons from that, glean some information from that, and some acceptance of that. And it's just, it's also fun to plan. In other areas of the world, it's still very common for them to look at astrology, draw up a chart, and choose a specific day for an engagement, or for a wedding, or for any sort of launch of a business, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really just a fun way to tap into the creative energy of the universe and choose to be a co-creator with the universe.
I love that, because you know how much I love law of attraction, and I believe in the universal powers. So many different laws of the universe come into play in everything that we do, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And the laws of attraction, that whole series of thought and teachings is actually extremely compatible with astrology. And the first step to all of that is really just knowledge and true, honest assessment of where you are, where your desires are coming from, what needs, what wants, what is the root of these needs and wants. And our astrology chart can help tell us that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that was a really quick, that's really opening the book. I mean, you open the book and you found out who I am, but it's so me, right? It's so me.
It's
just
very
confirms, like, wow. And I mean, I have been gifted from the universe and the stars and the moons and the planets these incredible gifts that I want to share with others, just like you have.
Mhm.
So Bethany, if one wanted to get an astrology reading, how would they do that? How do they contact you? How do they reach out to you? What would be the first step for them?
So the first step, and hopefully we can get just a clickable link set up in the show notes for the podcast, but my website is www.inner-sacred.com. If you head to my website, you'll see I have a series of different types of readings. I also read tarot. So the full list of my services is there. You can select a reading, schedule it through Acuity, and start the process of self-discovery.
Okay, so it's inner-sacred.com.
Correct.
Okay, inner-sacred.com.
Mhm.
And what are we talking? A half hour, 45 minutes? How long does it take?
So it's actually it's longer than that. So a basic chart reading is 45 minutes. I have a couple other more specialized readings that have a specific focus on the chart. I have one that's all about your kind of emotional landscape, emphasizing the water element in your chart, the moon in your chart. I have another one that is about kind of stepping into shadow work and facing maybe our potential for toxicity and how we can free ourselves of those cycles. So those ones are a little bit longer. Those would be kind of 90-minute sessions. But generally 45 to an hour is what you can expect from a reading.
Okay, perfect. So again, they can reach out to you directly, and
Exactly.
and if you have questions, drop them in the comments below. Drop them in the, because this is going out on YouTube. Drop them in the comments, and either Bethany or I will get to them, and we'll respond accordingly. Bethany, is there one message that you would like to leave with our audience today?
I will say this. We have been shown over the past 2 years that things are not as they always seem, that there are massive changes that we can't control that have potential to happen at any time, and that we have to learn how to be adaptable to these changes.
Absolutely.
So in that spirit, I think if you're someone who's always been a skeptic and said, oh, that's a bunch of baloney, what is the harm in opening yourself up to a new perspective? What doors could be opened for you if you choose to focus your thoughts on different possibilities than what you've always been focused on in the past?
Right. So we know that awareness is the first step to any change in our transformation, awareness. And
Mhm.
so what this does, like anything else, it makes you a little more aware of who you are and where you're going. And
Exactly.
it's just more knowledge for yourself to really get in and understand and get clarity on you as the individual, thereby allowing you to show up as your authentic self, right?
Exactly. And that is at the end of the day, I'm not trying to tell you when the love of your life is going to walk into your life. I'm not trying to tell you when you're just going to win the lottery and get $1 million. What I'm trying to do is help you empower yourself, know yourself on a deeper level, celebrate yourself so that you can be the most genuine and authentic version of yourself.
I
That
love
is what I use astrology for, and that's what I believe in.
Right, because we want to be the best version of ourselves.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. And
Thank you.
you'll take the share screen off and let me see your beautiful face, and let them all see your beautiful face again. And I hope you appreciated the fact that I put this appropriate background on for today's session.
I love it. It's very cosmic and I'm very into it.
Yes. So for those of you listening, if you want to watch this on YouTube, just head over to my YouTube channel, and Bethany and I will be there. It's Coaching with Maria. And again, if you have some comments or you want to express your own opinion about this, feel free to do so. Now, if you are ready to have your astrology read, reach out to Bethany, and it will be here in the show notes as well, how to click on to her. And then if you are interested in pursuing entire life transformation, you know how to reach me. Go to Coaching with Maria and schedule a private one-on-one consultation so we can get started on making sure that you are living a fully vibrant, joyful life. Because
Yes.
that's what we really, really want to do.
I am
So
a living, walking testimonial for your transformational coaching.
yes, you are, Bethany. And so I am so excited for what the future is going to hold for you, what the future holds for you. There is so much more. It's amazing to watch what has transpired and how you have grown. And such a powerful woman. You are such a powerful woman. So listen, my friends, first of all, thank you again, Bethany. I appreciate it. And for all of you out there, stay focused, stay positive, always have fun. And no matter what you choose to be, do, or have, do it with passion. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.